Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Monday morning, January the 22nd. The weather will turn milder for the second half of this week across the Mid-Atlantic region. In fact, it'll turn mild and quite wet Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But this warm-up will not come without some winter weather threats. In fact, there's a chance for some freezing rain late tomorrow night into Wednesday morning across portions of the Mid-Atlantic region, accumulating snow interior sections of the northeastern states like much of New York State, for example, late tomorrow night into Wednesday morning. And then we'll have to watch a potential storm system on Sunday or thereabouts. There won't be much cold air around, but it's not out of the table that some freezing precipitation gets involved if indeed this late weekend storm system does materialize, and we'll have to monitor that situation over the next several days. Now, the last 7 days, very, very cold across much of the nation. This is the temperature anomaly map for the period January 14th to the 20th, averaging out to minus 11 degrees across the lower 48. And of course, the heart of that cold air, the core of the cold air, was across the middle of the nation. These are some 25 to 35 degrees below normal for this time of the year. And when this time of the year is the middle of January, this is awfully cold weather. We're really right now climatologically at the coldest part of the winter season, the mid to latter part of January. So when you have some anomalies like this during the middle part of January, that is cold weather indeed. Now, in terms of the month as a whole, this is from January 1st all the way to January 20th, still below normal, minus 4 degrees below normal across the lower 48. The one area hanging on, much of New England with above normal temperatures, especially the state of Maine and maybe southern Florida as well, near normal, slightly above normal, but a lot of the nation below normal for the first, let's say, 3 weeks of the month of January. Well, now let's take a look at the pattern going forward here. This is the ensemble run of the European model from last night at 0Z, and really there certainly is a milder weather pattern across coming to much of the nation over the next couple of weeks, but it may be less than hoped for, less than desired, and we'll kind of talk about that here over the next couple of minutes. First of all, whenever you see a lot of blue across Greenland, northern Canada, that is not your best pattern for cold and snowy weather in the eastern U.S. We've often talked about high latitude blocking orange, higher heights than normal up across this region as producing more favorable conditions for cold and snowy weather in the eastern U.S. So let's start off the week here on Monday morning. Ridging is now starting to intensify across the eastern states with, again, a lot of lower heights than normal up north across Canada and Greenland, for example. This ridge intensifies over the next couple of days, and we certainly get to be above normal temperatures during the second half of the week in the Mid-Atlantic region, in the northeast U.S., again with a lot of higher heights than normal, focused on southeastern Canada, the eastern Great Lakes, and a lot of blue here, a lot of below normal heights up across Canada and Greenland. And then we'll move forward here, and probably the warmest days of the week in the Mid-Atlantic region, for example, D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, will come on Thursday and Friday. And by the way, there will be multiple low-pressure areas coming out of the Gulf of Mexico up into the northeastern part of the nation. States like Louisiana, who have had very dry conditions over the last couple of months, will get a copious amount of rainfall over the next several days here as that Gulf moisture pushes up to the north and east. Now, let's move forward here, and kind of an interesting change in the pattern sets up over the weekend into the early part of next week. This is now Sunday morning. A couple features I want to point out here. First of all, there is a pretty impressive upper level low right in this region right here showing up as of Sunday morning. And notice the ridge that was kind of focused over southeastern Canada kind of retrogrades to the point here where it's at least briefly, at least temporarily, out across the middle or even western part of Canada. And low pressure is going to end up moving to right around this position This is surface low pressure location for sometime Sunday night time frame. Of course, we're several days away, so give or take several hours here at least. But indeed, there may be low pressure somewhere right in this region. Not a lot of cold air around, but we're again at the climatological coldest time of the season, so we don't have to be far below normal for the possibility of some snow or ice with this system should it materialize. It looks like the atmosphere will tend to suppress it so that it will not be able to go too far to the north, and we'll see if it suppresses it farther and farther to the south and east over the next several days. But kind of an interesting change to the overall pattern by the time we get to the middle part and latter part of the upcoming weekend. Then we'll move forward. Here goes that low pressure area again right along the mid-Atlantic coastline, let's say, later Sunday night, Monday, and an impressive upper level ridge over central western Canada as opposed to where it is right now, setting up over southeastern Canada. Now, we'll move forward in time, and that tends to explode off the over the western Atlantic, and then the ridging starts to kind of move back east again by this particular time. But as we get through the first week of February, we'll start to notice quite a change here up across areas where this morning we saw all that blue, and here we go by the first week of February starts to set up with a pretty solid block, a high latitude blocking pattern, and we'll see this blue start to kind of increase across the southern states here and back into the east. In other words, the pattern overall turns a little bit more wintry like by the time we get to the second week of February. This is all the way out now to February 6th, and a lot of blocking setting up by that time over the Hudson Bay region of Canada. Now let's walk through the Canadian model run. This is the operational version of the Canadian model from 0Z last night. Arctic high centered over the eastern states, a very cold start to the day. Again, we have temperatures in single digits across interior sections of New Jersey as we begin the day here on Monday. 7 degrees at Dulles Airport, just outside of D.C. in the Virginia suburbs. And this Arctic high will only give away grudgingly. It will kind of slowly ease its grip on the Mid-Atlantic region. Now let's push forward here, and one thing we'll have to watch for, we're starting to get some moisture pushing in on Tuesday. Notice this very large and strong high pressure over southeastern Canada. That will help to produce some low-level cold air. And remember, there's still quite a bit of snow cover throughout the Mid-Atlantic region, so you'll have some low-level cold air, and that will become a concern later on tomorrow night. Here we go into Wednesday morning, and in fact, let me just change this to include the frozen precipitation here. Yeah, that's better. This is what we're looking at here. I'll backtrack a little bit here. Again, this is the Canadian model. And as we move into later tomorrow, into tomorrow night, this high pressure area will produce a lot of low level cold air. So you will have accumulating snow development across much of New York State, and those pinks represent some freezing rain, and they'll kick back in later on tomorrow night. Notice here, late tomorrow night across east central Pennsylvania, upstate PA, and that could very well slide all the way down into areas just to the north and west of Philly, for example. Even the far northern suburbs of D.C., I think, have a threat for some freezing rain late tomorrow night going into the early morning hours on Wednesday, something we'll have to monitor over the next 24 hours or so. Meanwhile, that accumulating snow pushes up into New England, and all thanks to that low-level cold air being anchored by that high pressure over the southeastern part of Canada. Here we are now at midweek, and again, keep in mind, I mentioned a lot of Gulf moisture coming places like Louisiana, where it's been quite dry recently. We'll get a ton of rain over the next several days, and this is when it starts to turn warmer in the Mid-Atlantic region by Thursday and Friday. 60 degrees very well could be reached on Thursday afternoon in D.C., maybe 65 degrees by Friday afternoon. So what comes in the form of precipitation, certainly Wednesday afternoon, Thursday, and Friday in the Mid-Atlantic region will be all rain. And then we'll move forward here into the upcoming weekend. This is now Friday into Saturday. And this is when we'll have to watch. Another storm system will gather strength over the south central states with a lot of Gulf moisture. Again, on Saturday, not a lot of cold air at all across the Mid-Atlantic Northeast U.S. However, this system will end up going to a position, I believe, like this, right off the Mid-Atlantic coastline, maybe a little bit farther north, and you have just enough cold air that may have to watch on the northwest side here for some frozen precipitation. Again, we're in the speculation phase, let's say late Sunday night time frame, but this system will have to be watched. We'll go all the way into Monday morning, and it pushes off the eastern seaboard. This is a week from right now. So yes, we do have a milder pattern coming over the next week, 2 weeks perhaps, but there certainly will be some more wintry weather threats in the Mid-Atlantic region, for example, in the northeast U.S. First of all, late tomorrow night, early Wednesday, some freezing rain is possible across many of the suburban areas in the I-95 corridor region to the north and west of Philly, for example, to the north and west of New York City, and accumulating snow late tomorrow night into early Wednesday. Much of interior northeastern U.S., New York State, for example, certainly will get some accumulating snow. And then we'll have to watch for this system late in the week and across the Mid-Atlantic coastline later Sunday night. Before that, a warmer day on Thursday and Friday with a lot of moisture flowing to the north and east from the Gulf of Mexico across the south central states, the lower Mississippi Valley, into the Mid-Atlantic region on Thursday and Friday. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, this has been meteorologist Paul Dorian.